headed to an infamous site outside of Healy, which is just north of Denali Park, and we're gonna go walk on the Stampede Trail. This is the trail that Chris McCandless took in 1992 on his expedition into the wild, made famous by John Krakauer's book, Into the Wild. It's a 40-mile there and back trail that goes over 2 river crossings, I believe, through beaver ponds, and is otherwise very muddy and very remote. So, should be an interesting experience. Driving to this trailhead really does feel remote, but nonetheless, there are houses and there's cars and there's people out here. But let me just give you a view of what Chris McCandless was walking into. The road to the trailhead is paved for the first 4 miles, and then turns into a well-graded dirt road for the last mile or so. The Stampede Trail has a long and storied history, dating back to 1903 when prospectors sought placer gold, and then to the 1960s when it was used as a road to an antimony mine. That's when Bus 142 was hauled in for use as a shelter. From the 1970s on, it was used for similar purposes by moose hunters. All right, so we are on the Stampede Trail, and I think we're out of the muck. This trail was originally built, I believe it was around 1903, by some gold mining company. And then sometime around the 1960s, I believe it was, another company came out here and they were looking for antimony or something like that. They had hired a crew to rebuild the roads, and they brought out 3 buses for the workers to live in. And one of those buses, I believe, the axle broke. And so they decided to leave it out here. And that's the bus that Chris McCandless eventually found 20 miles down this trail and lived in from, I believe it was the spring until summer. Now, what happened is Chris McCandless had been traveling the United States, hitchhiking, living a very vagabond, wanderlust, supertramp kind of life. And he came out here in the spring when the snow had not yet melted and the Teklanika River was relatively easy to cross. Unfortunately, when he finally decided it was time to go back to civilization, the glacial melt had picked up. The Teklanika became a raging river, and when he got back to cross it, it just was not possible. He was then stranded, essentially, at the bus. And I believe at this point, he was very, very short on food. He consumed poisonous wild potatoes or something like that. And that eventually led to his demise. Since that time, other people have come out here, seeking to retrace his steps because of the legend of Chris McCandless. And unfortunately, even though many, many people have made the pilgrimage to Bus 142, several people have actually died crossing the Teklanika. So it's a story, it's a harrowed story, full of infamy and legend. Oh, pretty muddy here. So it looks like the first part of this trail is all bogged out. We got to get back somehow over to the trail over there. I guess we can go through here. Not there, go through here. Step on the water? Alright, there's the bypass. Whew, it's already rough. Oh man, another one. So this area borders Denali National Park, and I can see the draw. You know, Alexander Supertramp, aka Chris McCandless, was seeking something wild. He was seeking to learn something about himself and to become self-reliant, a lot like in the philosophy of the transcendentalists. And no place is more transcendental than the big mountains of the world. And I want to show you Denali out here, far off in the distance, rising 20,000 feet. Beyond the draw of the wilderness, there's also the pilgrimage draw that people follow in the footsteps of others. For many, the bus remains a symbol of independence and self-realization, and despite several deaths that have resulted from travelers attempting to make this pilgrimage, the journey to the bus can be seen as an attempt to understand what McCandless was thinking and what he might have discovered. All right, guys, this, well, actually the road goes up here. I was gonna say this might be our turnaround point. We're not walking through there, but there's a road up here we can check out. We just wanted to go somewhere that there's some kind of a view and get a sense of what this trail is like. But it is definitely be an awesome 4x4 trail if you're looking for some interesting backcountry driving. So this trail just looks like it's bog after bog after bog. I think we're gonna stop here again. You gotta contemplate what he was contemplating. There's some moose tracks here. This is in the fall, around September, this is a popular moose hunting area. And in fact, it was hunters that I believe found Chris McCandless's body at bus 142. Unfortunately, it was too late. So that's how it goes. So not only are there moose out here, but there's also bear. You can see this paw print. I don't see the claws, but here's the front pad and then the finger toes, whatever you call those things. And if you look back here, I'm guessing this is from our bear friend, because that's way too big for a coyote, and it's definitely not a human because you can see all the hairs and other kind of like wild edibles in there. Well, I'm glad that I brought the bear spray, because like American Express, they say don't leave home without it, and don't point this at your face, and don't touch it and then put your fingers in your mouth. Hiking Alaska style. After several miles of slogging through bushes and around puddles, we were back, but not without a greater sense of at least this part of the Stampede Trail and the wild country that surrounds. All right, we are back at the van, parked on the side of the road, going back down the Stampede Trail, because we're pulled over to have some lunch, but I wanted to show you the view and give you a sense of perspective to this area. So let's climb up on the van and take a look. You can see here is the Stampede Trail, and it actually looks like it goes out onto that esker. I'm pretty sure that is an esker, that kind of like mound, and it follows the top of that all the way out. I don't even know. I know that Teklanika is out there, and so somewhere out in that direction is where McCandless eventually ended up, or where the bus was at. By the way, that bus that he found was a Fairbanks City bus. Fairbanks City bus number 142, I believe it was. So it was purchased by that mining company, or by that road building company, and left out there. And now it's actually, I forgot to mention, not out there anymore. Now the bus was airlifted by Chinook helicopter to the Museum of the North, where it's being restored, so that way it could be put on display for people to learn about McCandless's story, about really the story of the bus in general, and about this general area. To our surprise, we learned on the way back that the movie replica of the bus was sitting at a local brewery in Healy, just a few miles down the road. This was something that we were sure not to miss. So the movie replica is just outside of the 49th State Brewing Company's lot. And if someone hadn't told me that this was a replica, I would think this is the real thing. In some ways, the fact that they're refurbishing the original one makes it feel less real than this one here. After filming concluded, the owner of 49th State Brewing acquired the bus and had it moved to their lot. The replica contains many of the original movie set items, including the furnace, the bed, and other paraphernalia, and contains original images found on McCandless's camera, along with journal entries. Spending time in this museum is a powerful way to connect to the legacy of the man who called himself Alexander Supertramp. So these are reproductions of Chris's journal entries. Here's his SOS entry for anyone that was going to come by when he was in dire need of help and when he was dying. And this is a list of all the things that have happened from day one, exit Fairbanks, all the way to days that he never got to fill in, or days that he did not fill in because nothing happened. Maybe this is when he was at his sickest. How fascinating. Thanks for watching this episode. Please click like and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We'll see you next time.